In today's episode, what we're going to be focusing on is how to manage expectations in sport. So that's all about how to manage your expectations in the sport that you're playing. So don't go anywhere, I'll be with you very shortly. Hey there, Tiff here. Welcome to Ambition Habits. Lovely to have you here again. What we're going to be talking about today is how to manage your expectations in your sport, because what I find with people that are competing in their sport, and again, it doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter if you're a beginner or advanced, you have certain expectations, things in which you expect of yourself on how you should perform. So I know from a sports background that I have, when I enter into a new sport, I've always had the expectation that I'll progress quite quickly because of my background. I know that that was the gift that I was given, to be an all-rounder in sport, so I expect that that's going to happen. So frustration comes in if that doesn't happen quickly, as you can probably imagine. But what we do is we tend to have these expectations upon ourselves of what we should be doing. So I want to talk to you about that today, on understanding expectations, what that actually really means, how we can navigate through that. Okay, so the first one we want to be looking at is actually understanding expectations and what that really means to you as the sports performer. So one of those types of expectations can be self-expectations, just like what I was talking about before. I have a specific expectation that I'll be able to perform well in a sport when I take up a new sport. So what we tend to have is we have these expectations of ourselves on what we obviously expect from ourselves when we're playing in our sport. So if you've been playing your sport for quite a period of time, then you're going to have much higher expectation versus someone that hasn't been playing as long. Their expectation is a bit lower. The other thing that I also find too is when you're entering into a sport that you haven't played before, especially as an adult, you tend to have more pressure, a higher expectation that you should be able to just get it straight away. And I think the fact is that you forget that you have to go through that learning process on actually how to learn, how to, all the skills in the sport, the techniques, how to manage your mindset around that. So, you've got to be patient along that form. The other thing too is, like, if you have been playing for quite some time and your expectations is much higher, then and you're struggling in there, well, there was some reasons around that, and one of the big ones is that that pressure that you're putting on yourself to perform. So I'm going to give you some other things throughout this episode on what you can do to manage your expectations a bit better as well, so that will help from a performance point of view. Another expectation is external expectations. So that might be from family, it might be from coaches, it might be from teammates. So there'll be certain expectations that you will feel that are placed upon you. I find that really, from my own sports perspective, is that it's all perspective anyway. It's how you look at things and how you perceive things. So if you feel that there's external expectation from you, might be a good idea to actually have a chat to those people, so that if you're really feeling under the pressure, then you need to be discussing like what kind of pressure they're expecting from you, or what type of expectation they're expecting from you, in order for you to then perform how they expect you to perform. You can only do the best you can do in that moment. So that's what I want, a big thing that I want you to make sure that you're focusing on. But, there can be those external pressures. But again, at times it can be from here, but also conversations that you have with people. So it might be a good thing for you to then, if you're feeling that expectation from outside sources, is actually to have conversations with them about how that's affecting you, good or bad, and what you can do then moving forward with that. There's also the performance expectations, which I just talked about just earlier, was the fact that the expectations that you have of yourself when you're training and when you're competing I know that a lot of people tend to get quite frustrated when they're competing if they're not performing at the level that they think that they should be. But I also look at that is that they haven't done the mental preparation, they haven't worked on the mental discipline that they should be working on as well with regards to a better performance as such, because their expectations up here and they're not living up to that. But from a mindset point of view, but from a skill point of view, they may not be there yet. So you just got to make sure that you're working on making sure they both balance out and you know, so that you can actually perform better overall. So again, it's all about managing your expectations. Now we can look at the impact of what expectations are. So there's a positive impact of expectations. There can also be a negative impact of expectations. So let's have a look at that. So when we're looking at positive impact, what we're actually looking at is if it's managed well around the expectation point of view, are those particular type of expectations motivating for you? So when you're looking at like your own internal expectations, external expectations, or competition expectations and so forth, is it impacting you in a positive way, or is it impacting you in a negative way? So some people can respond quite well to high expectations and being pushed and so on. So that can be quite motivating for them. But then if we look at the negative impact, is that if you've got so much pressure and you've got this huge expectation of yourself and you're just not meeting it and you're always putting yourself down and it's not good enough, or people around you are not supportive in that way, then those expectations can have a negative impact on you, and then that can affect your performance, not only in training but especially when you're playing competition. I mean, I can tell you a whole ream of stories around that when my expectations around my tennis career were up here and my mental capacity was down here in the way that I thought of myself. So that can impact you negatively. So we need to make sure that we're managing those types of expectations, whether it's going to be a positive impact on us or a negative impact on us. So you need to be aware of actually what's going on and have conversations with people if you're feeling under that pressure from them, that is actually affecting your performance and you're not performing the way that you would like to. It's that what it's really doing is having a negative impact on you. So we need to make sure that how you're broaching your competition, training, enjoyment of the sport is managing the expectations that you have for you, and you know, it's all about making you feel good about what you're doing. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can then work on managing expectations. What would be a good thing to do? So the first thing is setting some goals. That's a really good one, is setting the goals of what you'd like to achieve for your sport, but also focusing on what we call process goals. I'm going to do a whole episode on process goals, but focusing on the process and not focusing so much on the outcome, so that you're working on seeing the benefits of the processes that are actually coming about, like your techniques improving, you're performing better at a particular skill area, you are seeing the results in your practice and your training that's actually coming about in the right way, in a positive way, so that it's managing you and getting you set for a performance. So we need to make sure that we're putting some really good goals in place that are manageable and achievable. You don't want to have goals that are way out there that you feel like you'll never reach, because you'll never reach them because you'll think they're too far away. So we want to be focusing on the little wins. I'm a big fan of little wins, so we need to make sure that we're focusing on strategies around that are going to create little wins for us. So second thing that we're going to be looking at is process goals. So we want to focus more on processes rather than outcomes, because the outcomes, like, you know, you winning a match or you winning a tournament or you winning one round or something like that, or is really about you focusing on the process that actually got you to win that. because it's the processes that you do that actually create the outcome. So like I find, like, because I teach a lot of people golf, is that they focus on the score and what the score indicates then their level of play, and it's really not that at all. It's actually them breaking it down and actually having a look at the process of what works well and what doesn't, and then we focus on improving that process so that it gives you that better outcome. So that's a good thing for you to look at. Third one, a really good one, is self-reflection and adjustment. So really, I like to call it self-awareness even, but it's being aware of actually what's going on, what's working well, what's not. And then, you know, if you're finding that things aren't working well, then this is the adjustment time. And then you need to be working on, okay, how can I improve that? And for those things that are actually working quite well, you just go, yep, great, I'm on the right track. Let's keep focusing on that process. Number 4, really good one, is constructive feedback. Okay, so you don't want to get any feedback from anyone in the way that, like, it's just not good enough and it's not this and it's not that, because that can actually affect your confidence, your self-esteem and so on, and you know, it doesn't really make you feel good. The constructive feedback that you're actually looking at is like that awareness of like how you're performing, how you're training, how you're practicing, what are those types of things coming up for you, getting feedback from your coach if you have a coach as well, so that you know that like what you need to be focusing on that's going to create the results that you're after, and also being aware of what's not working too. I find a lot of people are non-aware of like their technique and so on, of why errors keep creeping in. So I think it's really important too that you're focusing on the awarenesses around of what's working well in the technique, but also what's not, so that you can refine it and make it better. Number 5, supportive environment. I can't stress that enough. You know, growing up in sport and, you know, the coach yelling at you, and even school, the teachers yelling at you, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a constructive way to be supportive. That doesn't motivate me at all. I like it when people are giving me constructive feedback in the sense of they're being very supportive in what I'm doing in moving forward. Yep, you're doing that well, well done, thanks for showing up, all of that kind of thing. So you want to be looking at that, like the people around you, are you getting support from them, partner, coach, teammates, whoever you've got in your life, or you have children even that are playing sport, you know, give them support. They need the support. They need to know that you've got you've got their back. You know, the same with yourself. You need to know that you've got your back. So it's not about you putting yourself down and saying, oh, that's not good enough, because I hear that everywhere that I go in whatever sport I play. And that's not a supportive environment for yourself. It's like, yep, good try, keep going, let's keep focusing on getting this right. You know, so you need to make sure that there's a supportive environment around you. Number 6, really important one, avoid comparison. So do not compare yourself with others. Yep, you might find that some people are doing better than you in certain things. Great, well done. They may have been involved in the sport a lot longer. They may have much more experience in that. Doesn't matter, okay? You're on your journey of your sport. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, because if you're so worried and more focused on what they're doing, you're not focused on you anyway, and I can guarantee you are not going to perform well. You're not going to train well, you're not going to practice well, and you're definitely not going to compete well if that's the area that you're focusing on. So do not compare yourself with others. I can't express it enough, because it does affect your self-confidence, your self-esteem. That's when you start playing these scenarios in your head that you're just not good enough. Look at that person, they're too, you know, so much better. Even if they've started the same time as you, doesn't matter, okay? You want to be focusing on what you can do best, and you keep focusing on improving your skill level. You keep focusing on what's going to make you feel good, because remember, you're playing the sport to feel good, and you've got to enjoy the journey. You know, people roll their eyes at me when I say that, but you have to. You're on a journey, right? You're discovering a lot about you, how do you handle situations, and you're playing a sport that you actually really enjoy. So go and enjoy it. And number 7, great one, enjoy, right? Emphasize the enjoyment. Emphasize why you are there, okay? What's the reason that you took up the sport in the first place? Probably from enjoyment reasons. You enjoyed the sport itself. You might enjoy the social aspects of it as well. So make sure that that's a big focus as well. Like for me, when I take up a sport, I take it up purely for the sport because I'm very technically minded. I love hitting a ball, I love rolling a ball, I love kicking a ball, I love whatever around, you know, all the ball sports, you know, throwing a ball, whatever. And so I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. The social aspects are great, you know, and it's great to communicate with people and get to know people, and especially in a team, it's great, you know, you can develop that team environment and so on. But, you know, you've got to remember why you're actually playing the sport, because you want to have a love for the sport as well. It's not just doing it because you think that you have to do it. You're doing it because you actually enjoy doing it, so you want to make sure that you develop that deep love for the sport. And also a big thing too is like, just focus on like what you can do best, okay? What you can do best in the sense of like, you know, PBs, right? Personal best. And that, you know, that's a good thing to make you feel good. The other things is like just showing up, having a go, right? Some days you don't feel like you're going to perform as well as you'd like to, you know, but you keep working on it, right? That's what this brain is here for, is that you just keep working on it, you keep focusing on making that happen, okay? So remember, you just want to make sure that you're there to enjoy the sport as well, right? We've got to develop the love. So, in saying all of that, there's a lot there to cover. But what I want you to do is make sure you go back through that video. I'll have some information below the video as well that you can refer to, or if you're listening to this via a podcast episode, because I have this on my podcast episodes as well, then yep, go back and have a listen or read the material below. That will really help you. And love it if you could leave a comment down below and share with me what you like best about what you heard today. And dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Have an awesome day. Take care. Talk soon. Bye for now.